Did we lose you?
Good morning, everybody. It's David Ronson with Paladin. Thank you very much for joining us today. Our webinar today is real-world modern solutions for hospital mass fatality response. I want to thank AHEPP for allowing us to present. So a little bit about Paladin and myself. Paladin is a medical equipment manufacturing and a disaster preparedness and response company that specializes in mass fatality and mortuary surge. We'll go into a little bit more detail about what we provide and how we provide it. My background, how did I get here, is pretty diverse and really, I think, complements what we do very well. I spent just about 20 years as a firefighter with an emphasis on being on teams that deployed to large-scale disasters, everything from 9/11 to Katrina to Florida hurricanes. But I also have a design and engineering background and have been involved with building everything from fire trucks to mobile command centers over the years, and also developed a lot of in-the-field satellite tactical communications equipment. So good, diverse background, understanding of how emergency management works, how large-scale incidents grow and shrink, and I think the key to our presentation title and our approach to a lot of these incidents is real world. There's a lot of solutions that have been proposed that just don't really work in the heat of the moment. I think this is probably obvious to everybody that's attending today, but mass fatality events are on the rise. This is not just a COVID problem anymore, although COVID certainly brought to light some of the challenges in dealing with mass fatality and mortuary surge. And we'll go into it a little bit more. We have, just as most of you probably have, dealt with the cycle over the last 19 months or so of being in emergency response mode, and then getting through what might be a COVID surge, and trying to get into preparedness mode, and really trying to figure out what is the balance between being prepared and responding to these surges that force you to be prepared in a very short period of time. So we'll also address those sorts of things. Some of the examples, excuse me, in addition to COVID, obviously are opioid crisis, mass shootings, transportation accidents, these sorts of things. So where were we as a country, as preparedness professionals in April of 2020? We were really forced, for the most part, to deal with makeshift solutions. The response to a large-scale transportation incident or a 9/11 type of incident has been almost forever 53-foot semi-trailers, refrigerated semi-trailers. These generally worked because it was so infrequent that they were needed. And when you're in an emergency, you use what you have at hand. I don't think there's any doubt that COVID, again, has thrust into the limelight that these sorts of solutions need to be in place. They need to be thought out. They need to be purpose-built, and makeshift just doesn't cut it anymore. These are all images from New York City back in April. Some of the issues with them are obvious, some might not be, but there were no proper solutions in the market to address large-scale mortuary surge. The entire market for, particularly for morgue trailers in the United States, was probably fewer than 20 trailers a year. And with about 7,000 hospitals and tens of thousands of coroners and medical examiners' offices, we weren't even scratching the surface. So these solutions pose huge logistical challenges to make functional. Semi-trailer floor is approximately 52 inches off the ground. moving and lifting bodies into them is not easy. It's in fact quite dangerous. Features don't match requirements, no lighting, opening the doors allows chilled air to escape, no easy entry, etc. Makeshift ramps were built, not equipped with proper railings, and they were a safety nightmare. Hazmat issues includes bodily fluids, no ability to properly decon the porous surfaces. You can see wood in almost every one of these. So where are we today? These are Paladin products. This is our current lineup for solutions to real world problems. We manufacture bumper pull trailers here. We convert semi-trailers into safe medical equipment solutions, 20-foot refrigerated containers, and a new product that we're just launching, what we call a cube. These are quick deployable, almost tent-like structures that stow in a very, very small space, designed for instance for a hospital basement or that sort of thing. And we'll go into more detail about that. Our approach is we provide medical equipment. We don't just stick cargo trailers into the field or semi-trailers with no ramps and lights and things like that. Everything we build is purpose-built for the mission at hand. Paladin's focus is number one on worker safety. We have asked a lot of these last responders over the last year and a half to work in some very, very unsafe conditions. In the heat of the moment, there may have been no choice, but I think as hospital emergency preparedness folks, we really need to start thinking about how we're going to approach this going forward. Number two focus is respect and dignity for the decedents, reliability, and customer service and support after the sale. We offer a wide range of mobile, portable, and temporary solutions. And we see these as very different things. Mobile would be a bumper pull trailer. You can hook a pickup to it and take it into the field. Portable, we deliver it, it stays there for a while, such as a semi-trailer or a container. And temporary would refer more to the cubes that we've developed. Our solutions accommodate 12 to 84 decedents. We do have sales, rental, and standby programs. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And we always maintain stock on hand. And again, all of these are applicable towards pandemic response, mass shooting, airline or transportation incidents. So I wanted to walk you through our trailer solutions, our bumper pull trailer solutions. Again, everything we build is built from the ground up, purpose built for the application. A lot of other folks out there are, especially since COVID, are really trying to take advantage of a quick buck opportunity, and they're literally converting cargo trailers, off the lot cargo trailers into a refrigerated space. Some of the differences include the construction type, the insulation, the refrigeration units, all those sorts of things. So I believe we have a best-in-class, best-in-market warranty, and we really do strive to maintain the after-sales support. So our trailers hold 16 to 24 decedents. They're easy to move. They can be used in the field, meaning these can be brought into the field for, again, a transportation incident, something like that. Very easy to clean, store, and deploy, and they use common 240-volt electrical service that can certainly be found in any commercial building. And then we also offer generators. Probably half of what we sell goes out with a generator. I'm surprised that we don't have a photo of that here, but we have 53-foot semi-trailers. We have found that, and the reason we're walking through these different products, what we found is there is no one size fits all. Every hospital is different from a physical attribute standpoint. There's a high likelihood that there is no space for a 53-foot trailer within your hospital group at Hospital A, but Hospital B, it's a great fit, and that's what you want to go with. So one of the things to keep in mind as we walk through these different solutions is they're different sizes, they hold different numbers of decedents. The trailers, again, or the 53-foot trailers, take up quite a bit of space, but they hold 56 to 84 decedents. So it's really about a mix and match and making sure that the solution that you need fits the problem that you have. So these trailers require a semi-tractor to move them. So typically once they're deployed, they stay there for a while. We do have contracts with some of the larger states whereby we might move the trailer usually on a monthly basis from one location to another, only because it's no longer needed. But generally these are dropped and stay in position until they're not needed anymore. So better for longer deployments for sure. All of these trailers contain a diesel powered refrigeration unit, so they do need to be fueled. Whereas again, the bumper poles plug into a 240 volt circuit. Ramp and loading dock configurations available. So these trailers can also be used in a loading dock configuration, which we've also done several times. Our units deploy with interior lights, OSHA compliant ramps and rails, flat floors, curtains, racks, and trays. That third picture shows the interior of one of these units. So again, we view these as pieces of medical equipment and not food trailers. These are our containers. This is really a fantastic solution. They hold 16 decedents, very, very small footprint on the ground. They're very discreet. Hospitals deploy these and can put them near a loading dock or near an entrance, usually to the morgue or somewhere else, and it doesn't scream morgue trailer. The press has had a field day over the last year and a half when hospitals bring in semi-trailers or even some small trailers. And the press is never good when it comes to morgue trailers. So these are a really, really nice solution. They load at ground level, so long ramps aren't required. And they use common electrical service, so we can accommodate just about any building. We can also deploy these with generators. So if there was a remote site or somewhere where you didn't have power, we can power them by generator. And then these are the cubes that we're coming to market with. Literally in the next 30 days or so, we'll be launching this product. I don't have a photo in here of this unit in its stowed configuration. Each of those rectangles is a door that's Velcroed in place. So this unit is 12 decedent capacity. Our production model, 3 of those 12 will be bariatric capable. The entire system stows on wheels, so it can be pushed through a hospital or stowed in a basement. Takes up about 38 square feet, so very, very small footprint when it's stowed, and then when it's deployed only takes up about 70 square feet. So just for some reference of scale, the front of this unit is 8 feet across, so it really is a very, very small package. Sets up in about 30 minutes with no tools. We have videos and manuals. Any layperson can set it up, somebody who's never seen it before. So your maintenance folks can set it up very, very easily. Nothing is very heavy. And one of the key attributes to this product is it operates on 120 volt, 15 amp service. So that means that any household plug can power the refrigeration unit. Does not require any special power. The benefit to that is it could be deployed in any room inside a hospital or inside a morgue, whereas a 240 volt unit would require very special electrical service. Very small footprint, designed to be used inside. From a discrete standpoint, this is about as good as it gets. This would be inside the hospital, not outside. Very easy access. You can walk right up to the different doors and load and unload. Very easy to clean and deploy, and it's very, very strong. Inside of this cube is a rack system that has a 10,000 pound capacity. So as I mentioned before, one size does not fit all, and that's not just related to the different devices that we manufacture and put into the field. Paladin has several different programs, each tailored towards specific customers. We are the largest lessor of trailers and mobile morgue expansion equipment. We do rent everything that we went through today, and we do maintain inventory, or at least try to maintain inventory on the ground at all times. We do sell everything that we walk through today. In addition to what we walk through for those hospitals or emergency managers or coroners or medical examiners that have already purchased or been or had 53-foot trailers donated to them, we offer retrofit kits to make those trailers safe and more accessible. And then we have a number of different ways for different entities and different agencies to obtain equipment. So we do have an in-house grant coordination person, not a grant writer, but what he does is he's expert at identifying grants that are specifically applicable to different hospitals or agencies. So that might be based on the size of the population, the city or county that the entity might be in, who they service, how they service them, whether it's a nonprofit or not. So we do free of charge all of the research. We identify the grants, and then we will help coordinate the end user to apply for the grants. And then we also maintain standby contracts. So, you know, I think I mentioned before, the last 19 months have been a roller coaster, probably for everybody here, where we go from, you know, full-blown emergency response and trying to find these assets and trying to deal with the issues to these lulls and trying to shift more towards a longer-term focus on preparedness. What we found, particularly with hospitals, and especially large hospital groups, is we started offering standby contracts. So different hospital groups have different requirements, or I guess different requirements about how they want to approach it. But the way our standby contracts work is twofold. One is guaranteed availability. So the hospital systems that we've entered into these contracts with usually want a guarantee of about, and this number moves, right? But it's a number to think about 10% of their hospitals with one trailer. So for instance, if we have a hospital group with 100 hospitals, generally they want to enter into a guaranteed availability contract for 10 or 10% of the 100 trailers or containers or any mix of what they think they're going to need. So They would pay a standby rate. We would guarantee availability 365 days a year for those 10. And then they would have first right of refusal on an additional number of units. So we have been very flexible in that we work with the different hospital groups to come up with a plan that really works for them. Guaranteed availability is just that. They're paying for us to maintain and make available a single asset. First right of refusal, we would offer them exactly that. So we would have the asset here. If the demand for that asset came up, we would give that hospital group first right of refusal. If they turn it down, then we would service another client. These are typically multi-year contracts, so we are checking the box for both that long-term preparedness. We're also checking the box for that short-term surge. The trailers the trailers are stowed and maintained at multiple points throughout the country. Right now we have an East Coast location and a Western location. So what we guarantee with the guaranteed availability standby contracts is we will arrange for shipping within 1 business day. Now, COVID has wreaked havoc on shipping, the shipping industry. I think every industry that we touch, COVID has wreaked havoc on. So we have had very, very good luck. Typically, we're waiting for only about a day, sometimes 2, to hook these trailers up and ship them out. We've maintained very good relationships with trucking companies that we've had, built these relationships over the years. So typically with these contracts, we're shipping within 2 days. So pretty fast response. And some of the questions, I don't know the level of experience of folks that we have on the phone. We speak with coroners and MEs and hospitals, emergency managers every hour of every day. What we have found is that some hospitals specifically are better prepared at addressing mortuary surge and mass fatality incidents than others. This is just a list of some relatively high-level basic questions to get started on a plan. We are also pretty close to having a library built of dozens and dozens of mass fatality plans and mortuary surge plans from different agencies and different hospitals around the country. And we'll have that library available to anybody here. So you can feel free to go through and adopt one, or go through and copy and paste. Everything that we're going to post is public domain, so you can have at it. We are here really to be a solutions provider. So to the extent that we don't offer what you think your group needs, we're all ears. We really would like to service you for the long term. We are at our core, like we opened with, a medical equipment manufacturer and a preparedness and response partner. We do work regularly with FEMA, with HHS, with Cal OES, Texas HHS, New Mexico HHS, and literally hundreds and hundreds of other state, county, and local agencies and hospitals. And I think that's it, other than if anybody had any questions, Anna.
Thank you. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to unmute your microphone and ask, or if you would prefer to put it in the chat, we can do that as well. I do see we have one question in the chat right now. Jennifer's asking about the ability to safely lift decedents to the upper racks. It looks higher than I would want to utilize.
Excellent question. Thank you, Jennifer. So two of the things that came out of COVID from Paladin in an effort to solve some of these logistical issues. One is the cube that we went through, a very unique way to respond, for folks that have challenges with trailers or outdoor storage. The other, I guess I should have mentioned, is typical morgue cadaver lifts are much too big and in a lot of cases much heavier than will operate inside of a trailer, right? Inside of a trailer, you're dealing with a relatively narrow aisle, not a lot of space. So we did also design and brought to market a cadaver lift that's designed specifically for the trailer aisles. All of our rentals deploy with lift. So the lift does go up actually a little bit higher than the top rack, if you will, or space on the rack that you saw it with the trailer racks. And it does operate very well up and down the aisle. So good question. Thank you.
Thank you. I see we have another question in the chat. Jonathan says, great resources for many facilities. When are you expecting to have the library up and available for us to access the plans you mentioned?
I think within about a week or so. We're very close. I'm sorry, I don't have a firm answer for you. But Anna, maybe we can, once we get it loaded, we can just send an email out to
Yes.
the folks.
Absolutely. If you want to let me know when you have that ready, I can send it to everyone who is registered for the webinar. Absolutely.
We'd be happy to. Thank you, Jonathan.
Okay. Looks like we have one more question in the chat. Allison would like to know, how many hospitals have you seen make direct requests for fatality trailers specifically to use at their facility? Says, I'm a bit surprised that in a mass fatality surge at a healthcare facility, the hospital would manage the trailer without the assistance of public health or partners.
Another good question. So, I keep coming back to it. We have learned a lot in the last 19 months, just like, again, everybody here has. One of the takeaways is just how incredibly disjointed response is, literally from town to town, county to county, state to state. So there are a lot of times, and I can give you numbers of examples where we are dealing with the the local and state emergency management agency, multiple hospitals, a hospital association, and the county coroners within the exact same county at the exact same time. So what we've seen is, the answer to that question is, in a lot of times, absolutely. We've seen a lot of hospitals and a lot of hospital associations, sometimes out of frustration, just say, you know what, we're going to get our own solution. We're going to deploy it ourselves. We're not going to rely on our other partners. And then we have also certainly seen a more coordinated effort between those agencies that I mentioned. But more often than not, and there's no one specific area of the country that I've seen that's better or worse than any other. It really is just happenstance. But I would say more often than not, there's not good coordination, not good communication amongst that group of people. Actually, the only exception to that would be the hospital associations, I think, do a better job of communicating amongst themselves.
Question from Christy. Do you ever have a group of hospitals in the same community share the use of these trailers?
Yes, absolutely. Good question. So back to the model that I gave for the hospital groups, and what I mean by hospital group is, under one ownership, not necessarily an association, which might be 4 or 5 hospitals, within the same community. So certainly within the groups, typically they are, and there's exceptions to this as well, typically they're coordinating together. And certainly in the surges, most of those groups have a single emergency preparedness coordinator that the other hospitals are reporting to. So the reason that a lot of these hospital groups came up with that 10% number is exactly that, right? They've done some probably back of the napkin math and said, well, we have 100 hospitals. What are the chances that more than 10 are going to need this asset at one time? And, they've come up with those sorts of calculations. So from a hospital group standpoint, the answer is absolutely. From a hospital association standpoint, meaning recognized by HHS, we've also seen the same. So to the extent that they're willing to share, we've also seen hospitals that are very competitive with each other and don't play well together. So to the extent that they're willing to share and communicate, we've definitely seen sharing of resources, and that's where that sort of thinking really went into the cube that we talked about, because now instead of one hospital having to maintain a trailer and park a trailer year round, you could take a group of hospitals and each one of them can have this smaller 12-person solution in their basement. If you needed to move it from one hospital to another, it's very, very easy to do and very, very easy to deploy. So it was designed specifically as an easier to share asset as well.
Looks like we have just one more question in the chat right now. Tracy would like to know, is there pricing available?
Yes, of course. Probably the best way to get your pricing, all of our pricing is published, it's upfront, it's very easy to understand. There's an email address on the slide. If you would email the jmay at Acela Inc. Acela, by the way, is our parent company. I guess I should have mentioned that. But Jeremy May heads up our sales department for mortuary surge assets. We'll be happy to get you pricing.
Okay, I think that covers all of the questions from the chat box. If I did miss a question in the chat box, or if you have one that you maybe don't have time to type in there right now, you can unmute your microphone and ask your question at this time. Give everybody a few seconds to find that unmute button.
Anna, there were 2 other questions in the chat. One was from Jennifer Lord. We've asked our hospitals about level loading decedents between facilities, for example, to a centralized morgue surge solution, and they all said no. Jennifer, can you elaborate on that?
Jennifer, if you're speaking right now, you are muted. She may have had to step away.
Yeah, understood.
Okay. Well, if there are no more questions, then thank you so much for being. Oh,
sorry. This is Allison. I'm with Bryan Medical Center in Lincoln. I really like that you pointed out Jennifer's comment in the chat, because that's extremely interesting. Just kind of my comment on that would be, you know how sometimes we have to have things happen, unfortunately, in order to get buy-in for stuff. The only thing that maybe if she is listening, I would say is kind of delicately try to push that, well, if you don't have anything, here are your options. You do this, or people are going to end up being inappropriately handled. So I just wanted to make that comment because I thought it was very interesting, and thank you for highlighting that out of the chat.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Allison. That was good discussion there. Are there any other questions or comments, ladies and gentlemen? Please feel free to unmute your microphones and just speak up if you have something to say. Going once, going twice, and hearing none. Thank you everyone for being here today, and thank you, Dave, for a great presentation. I will put together a list of those resources that we talked about today and make sure that everyone who participated today receives an email with those resources. If you do find that once you leave here today, you come up with another question and you don't remember the email address that Dave gave, please feel free to send your questions to ahep@ahep.org and we will make sure that they get forwarded on. But with